All right. It's fun to predict the future. I mean, I would admit that, with no accountability, anybody can do it. But, there are a lot of things going on, and maybe there is some merit to it. Let me try one aspect of this future prediction. So the dollar is, everybody knows that US dollar is the reserve currency. The US dollar being the reserve currency actually puts the US regulators in a very difficult spot to regulate crypto. So if they regulate crypto, what does it mean? They are legalizing crypto. And what is crypto for? Crypto is for a distributed financial system away from the banking system, and that takes away the power of everything that comes with US dollar being the reserve currency, all the power that US got, all this, they can raise money whenever they want by selling bonds that Chinese and Japanese and everybody else do buy. Why? Because they have to adjust their risk related to their currency, as a denominator of the US dollar. And because of that specific reason, and then because US as a dollar being the reserve currency, you actually do all the tradings of the gold and the oil and all that stuff using the US dollar as a denominator. So it's safe haven as for the investors of the US bond. When dollar becomes, if the US regulates the crypto, that means that they're basically devaluating dollar. That itself, it's a huge problem for the rest of this investment community who are not investing in crypto, who are basically, the rest of the world who are actually opponent of dollar being the reserve currency, with all the things that happened, all the taxpayer money being used for bailing out the banks, etc., etc. So now if you look at it, right now we are in a very, very interesting situation with this Silicon Valley Bank, Silvergate and Circle and a few others who are kind of almost to getting bankrupt, right? So if you look at it, like the Silvergate was completely wiped out because of this. They are the funders of the crypto, coin and other developers who, different companies, blockchain based, who are making this Web3 related development, and these are 10 years, 15 years down the line. That's the vision that, when cryptocurrency will be replacing part of this, US dollar fiat currency, then this Web3 where peer-to-peer, like the transactions would be more common using the blockchain technology, and that's all they're betting on. That's what they're using, this Ethereum and Bitcoin and all the other platforms to build their infrastructure. So now they need to pay their employees, and those employees are, those banks, those companies are using the Silvergate and the Silicon Valley Bank, of those banks of those sorts who are proponent of this innovation in the crypto space. The regular banks like the JP Morgans and Bank of America are not, because their whole existence actually depends on that regular fiat currency. If the fiat currency goes away, then JP Morgan has no reason to exist, because blockchain takes away the middleman, which is the bank, from this whole equation of transaction. So why they would use proponent of the cryptocurrency? So that doesn't make sense to from their investment perspective. So these guys who are developing these Web3 applications and the infrastructure, they have to go to this the regional banks, on very niche areas of the regional banks, who will take risks like the ones of the Silicon Valley Bank to fund and to pay their employees. Now when this liquidity goes away because of some mistakes that the management made, or whatever the reasons, that's different, because buying these US bonds without knowing that the bond price might go down as interest goes up because of the inflation, and then they will be deep under the water with the duration risk of 10 years, that, and without hedging, that really caused this trouble that unfolded in the last week. And when that happened, immediately people started moving their money from these banks, including the crypto investor, because first thing they need to do is not lose money. They cannot keep cash in their hand, so they have to either push this money to another bank. And what options they have? If you go to the JP Morgan, they will not take their money. They will not give them the funding they need, because the loan they need, because basically they're the second derivative of risk of their own existence, as I mentioned. And if they have to go with the smaller banks, then they are also in trouble, because then nobody knows that what kind of issue might happen in those banks in the coming days, given that interest risk that was exposed by the scenario last week with the Silicon Valley Bank. So what are they left with? They have to move the money either overseas or convert it to some other crypto. Now they cannot pay your employees using crypto. I mean, that won't work. And if you use a Coinbase or other exchanges where you can immediately liquidate the money using dollar to crypto, then or stable currency is also not safe, as there was this issue that happened last week. The stable currency for the stable coins supposed to be 1-to-1 ratio for a dollar. It went down to 88 cents for a dollar when it was very up. It almost became apparent that you cannot you might actually lose your deposits, right? That's what happening last week because of liquidity issue. So stable currency is out of question. Coinbase, if you use those kind of scenario, right, put your money in the crypto and convert to US dollar instantly, you have to pay a huge fees to Coinbase. It doesn't make sense if the crypto goes down. You actually lose a lot of money there because of the volatility. So you have to keep this money to pay the employees in form of a currency, regular currency, which could be a US dollar or so what is your option? Your option is then to move the money to other part of the world, either Swiss banks or some places where the regulation there is not over regulation on the crypto, or there is people would be able to lend money to you, the short-term lending to you as a blockchain developer. So this is the predicament right now we have, and there are two options from here. That if the money goes away, so there are hundreds of thousands of this crypto companies out there. Many of them will probably disappear because of these issues, because they will not be able to pay their employees, and they'll just liquidate, and they'll just say, okay, that's enough is enough. I can't sustain, and they will go away. So there will be the white collar this whole job loss will start to unroll in the next few days. But keeping that aside, there are obviously few companies, hundreds of them, which are doing really, really important work. And this is not only US, it's happening across the world, across the different, in UK, in Europe, in China, in Indonesia, everywhere in the world. And so what happens 5 years, 6 years down the line, these companies die in US, and some companies where there is no such regulations in the other part of the world, they flourish, and money from these US companies also move to the other places. At some point, they probably move their headquarters to those places as well. So what happens then, 5 years, 6 years down the line, let's say there is a doomsday scenario that you have a dollar going down because inflation, stagflation, etc., and the top of the US, and there is a revolution happening everywhere else in the world about the cryptocurrency, and US, because of this specific scenario, that the big banks were really worried that they will cease to exist because of the crypto, and they did not lend money to this blockchain industry. The blockchain industry is going to be much weaker in US versus the rest of the world. And if Web3 is the future, then think about it, where US actually lies in that case, with the stagflation, with the rest of the industries actually being in a poor state, and US would struggle. So this is right now is unfolding in front of us with this scenario of the Silicon Valley Bank that is just opening eyes for everyone who is actually watching this story, that hey, what we thought is so strong, based on the strong foundation, US dollar and the US banking system is not so strong anymore. Everybody talked about, hey, the banks are so good place to be because they are so much regulated from 2008. Nothing bad can happen, and you're going to come out of it very strong. And some even say that, okay, buy the KRD, the regional banks, even a month ago, and now this happened, right? I mean, this was in front of everyone, but nobody saw it. People who would say that, okay, I have a safe haven in US bond, I'm going to buy US bond 10 years, I'm going to keep my money safe, there is not much fluctuation, I'm going to get 2%, 3%, and then if the interest rate falls, I can actually even make a trading profit. And nothing wrong with that. It's just a safe, it's nothing highly serious investment risk. But then this happened. The US bond 10-year went down from 1.5% to 3% in no time, and now close to 4%. And all this money are deep under the water with unrealized loss over more than their overall market share. So are close to that, right? So I think even some of them might, if they liquidate their unrealized loss, they might actually have to go bankrupt. So this is the scenario right now. And what is happening in front of us is that we are seeing that in front of our eyes, the US dollar, as it's getting punished, as it's going to get punished more in the coming days, there would be a rebellion within US, outside US, that US dollar is actually a crooked system, and people would be asking for more from the regulators, from the government. There are two ways to go. Either the government have to approve the for the crypto regulation, that is basically a demise of the US dollar in a way in the long run, or they don't, and then US dollar will be split. Most of these countries, the third world, who are actually hurt by the US dollar, they would probably go somewhere else and they will use crypto. So this is happening. I hope that there's a middle ground. I think there is no way to go back, that US dollar would be the only currency and everything would be hunky-dory like in 10 years ago or 5 years ago. It's not going to be like that, but US regulator has to be very careful to realize that this phenomena, this surgence of this crypto is real, and there are real work is happening in the blockchain industry. And if they don't support it, then innovation won't stop and it's going to go elsewhere. And the companies, the big tech that we that enjoyed for the last several decades, the emergence of the US, I would say everybody made money, and that money we're going to unroll. That deposit has just happened, disappeared in the last week from the likes of the Silvergate and the Silicon Valley Bank is going to unfold in the big tech and in the big banks as well. So this is what I think it's very interesting, and I think it's a future prediction is that there's right in front of us what's happening is historic, and I think we're gonna look back to this story and we're gonna say that we might have done something different at the time. Yep, that's it.